Rather than just being a straightforward left-to-right platformer, Doki Doki is much more of an adventure game with elements from level-based platformers, having things such as keys and other items needed to progress in the levels, adding in a lot of depth. Doki Doki Panic isn't as hard as people say it is, but it's challenging and that makes it fun. The lost level is probably even harder than you already think it is. Most of it isn't that bad and is understandable, but those game block moments and areas can really just screw you over sometimes. There also doesn't seem to be too much compensation for the harder difficulty. No new power-ups are in this game other than the poison mushroom, which instantly kills you.
And why do you have to die when you fall in the water? That's the stupidest thing I've ever seen.
In fact, the only new gameplay additions seem to be the springs, which can be unpredictable for both how long you spend in the air, and when you need to press the jump button. And the wind, which actually works pretty well for the most part as a new gameplay element. These new elements don't really do all that much and don't have a lot of depth to them, but just about everything else remained about the same. Mushrooms, fireflowers, and starmen all do what you remember them doing. Since Doki Doki isn't the real Super Mario Bros., naturally, the power-ups are extremely different. Hearts have replaced mushrooms for replenishing health, and they are gained by killing enemies, ironically enough. This is an okay way of gaining health, but the heart can sometimes be in a completely inaccessible place, and the amount of enemies you have to kill can sometimes be a bit much. Mushrooms now act as a way of increasing your health capacity in each level, as secrets rather than as a typical find for help. The starmen are no longer secrets. They act more as rewards for collecting a certain amount of cherries, which are everywhere. This works well, but the star can be easy to miss in certain areas. Coins are used as chances for a bonus prize in a bonus game, but it's so random and involves such little skill that it just seems unsatisfying and disappointing. Shells are found in the floor now, but they do exactly the same thing as they did before, the only difference being that they can't bounce off of walls. Ground pounds and vegetables have a similar purpose, just to kill. Time stoppers stop time, which is surprisingly useless for whatever reason, and bombs are used to blow up walls. But I seriously have to say that some of the bombing puzzles, like dropping the bomb at precisely the correct time, could have been left out. Back to the lost levels, the enemies are also heavily recycled. The only new enemy seems to be the red piranha plants, which are faster, which is okay in my opinion. There aren't even any new bosses. Once again, you just fight Bowser over and over again. The only difference is that he's figured out better ways to defend himself. Only two old enemies have revamps, which are that Bloopers can now fly, which is kind of dumb, and that Koopas can swim, which fits.
They're turtles, for fuck's sakes. They can't even swim?
Doki Doki, again not being the real Super Mario Bros. 2, has a completely different list of enemies. Shy Guys, the gas mask wearing gun-firing Sniffets, Ninja, flying fork-carrying Bezos, Porcupos, Tweeters, suicide-bombing Bob-ombs, Trouters, Pidgeots, Panzers, the fat-ass Flurries, Albatosses, the annoying-ass Phantos, Sparks, Pokies, the fucking Ostros, and of course, the bosses. Birdo appears as the mini-boss at the end of almost all the stages, either pink and easy, red and challenging, or green and hard. Mauser 1 is just plain annoying, Triclide is a lot of fun, Mauser 2 is even more annoying, Fry Guy can be both fun and tedious, Claw Grip is the same story, Triclide 2 is way too similar to its first form, and Wart is an interesting, but ultimately annoying cool boss.
Bowser's gonna die! Oh my god, it's Wart! Why is Wart? Why? That doesn't make sense!
Yep, Wart is the new ending boss, not Bowser. All these different enemies and power-ups make the game stand out in the Mario universe, which is probably how some smart people figured out that this wasn't really Super Mario Bros. 2. Looking at the visuals, the Lost Levels has more detailed environments, but the enemies, characters, and power-ups look exactly the same. Kinda like the music, which has absolutely no update at all. It's still low quality, and has no new songs in it whatsoever. Everything in Doki Doki Panic is very well detailed and colorful. Even Mario is more detailed in this game than he is in the Lost Levels. There also seems to be a lot more movement going on, from the waterfalls to the enemy animations. One big problem I have with the Lost Levels is that when you game over, you go all the way back to the beginning of the world. Even if you make it all the way to fucking Bowser, you still go all the way back to the beginning of the first stage. Alone this isn't that bad, but since the game is so much harder, the levels are longer, and there are more stages in each level, this is likely to occur a lot and lead to some serious frustration. Doki Doki has the same game over structure, but since the game is easier, the stages have multiple different checkpoints, the game has less stages per level, and you have more chances of gaining new lives, it fits. Doki Doki Panic also seems to have a lot more replayability than the lost levels. With so many different possibilities for characters, power-ups, and routes, this game has a lot of replayability. Replayability is incredibly hindered in the lost levels, largely due to trap secrets. How? Well, there are many warp pipes and warp zones that now actually take you in reverse. You can imagine how annoying that's gonna get. This is actually a big problem because I honestly stopped trusting the game after a few runs with those damn traps and just played through it straightforward. The warps in Doki Doki Panic stay as rewards as forward boosts, and are a little more cryptic than before, which is probably a good thing for secrets. So, in conclusion, I would have to say that Doki Doki Panic is more worth your $5 than the Lost Levels is to your $6. I have to say that the Lost Levels is either for people who are hardcore Mario fans, such as myself, those who don't mind a little frustration, or are really good at games. The only reason I would think you would not like Doki Doki Panic is that it's not the real Super Mario Bros. 2. And if you're one of those people, then fuck you. Honestly, I really didn't care if this was the real Super Mario Bros. 2 at first. It had a larger influence on Mario than the Lost Levels ever did. It fit better with Miyamoto's tradition of completely changing designs, and is overall just a more enjoyable game. If you get caught up on the fact that this is not Super Mario Bros. 2, then just call it whatever the hell else you want then. Doki Doki Panic, Mario Stone Dad Adventure, The Reason You Shouldn't Do Drug, Anti-Terrorist Op Group, whatever. Just appreciate the game for what it is, and don't get caught up on details. That's why everybody hates Chris Bores. The Lost Levels, on the other hand, isn't really anything unique or special at all besides just being a really hard-ass Mario game. The title itself fits with what it feels like. Rejected levels. Kinda like if Zelda's Second Quest was a separate game or something. I would definitely recommend paying the $5 for Doki Doki Panic, and I'd have to say that the majority of you should spend the $6 for the Lost Level on something else. That concludes this review. I'm trying to think of whether or not to do Secret of Evermore or Super Mario RPG next for my review. Thank you, and God bless.
Surprise butt sex!